call the meeting to order. Do I have to bang the gavel?
Yep.
I do?
Yeah.
Couldn't hardly hear that.
I'm sorry. I'll try to make it a little lower next time.
Got my attention, man.
Right?
All right, and then roll call, Pete Palace, Aldo Revito,
Here.
Mark Francis,
Here.
Wade Coleman,
Here.
Sylvia Pate, Ashley Royal.
Here.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second.
There you go. Is that it? On the approval of the minutes, is that all we have to do?
Yeah, what
Do we
you
do
should do is ask for a discussion.
Oh, okay.
Comment.
That's it.
Oh.
Yeah, you can do that, if you just ask for a discussion.
As for a discussion on the, okay. So we'll go back and, any discussion on the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, public comments on the agenda items?
They look good.
So your motion does stand.
Okay.
Okay.
All in favor, I'm sorry. Say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get there. Now we're going to,
Frontal zoom again.
Just step down.
yeah,
You want to comment?
Yeah,
He's here.
yeah, let's see if he wants to make a comment.
okay.
Comments on this.
Should have been here
I don't
then.
care.
We're already past that part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jumped over it. We're going back to it though.
Oh, we'll go back to it.
You can only talk to that one agenda item. You probably don't want to talk.
He's good?
Busy,
Okay.
Yep.
Is he good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now,
Back to the frontal
yeah,
then.
Chair
Yeah.
needs to recognize the staff.
Oh, I'm sorry. The chair recognizes,
Item 5, agenda item number 5, this is a revision to the dune ordinance. We had a lot of complaints, we brought it to the town, to the board of commissioners. The board of commissioners okayed us to bring it to you. We brought it up before the board, the planning board last month, where we gave y'all background information. And we decided that we would bring it back to y'all with some changes that were in line with what the staff had recommended to the Board of Commissioners, and with a change of location in the ordinance. The main reason was the frontal dune policy didn't really lead any due process to the property owner. It was a regulatory rule, so it was like speeding. If you did it, then there was no recourse. But clearly, building and construction and stuff in the dunes is clearly a land use issue, and really should have been in the land use section of the ordinance and not regulatory. We
okay.
can still have, you can't walk on the dunes, you can't destroy the dunes, you can't, damage the dunes, all that being a regulatory, where it should be. But building a walkway or having a certain size walkway or that kind of stuff is land usage. In other words, it would have to comply with accessory structure rules, because it is accessory structure, that's in land use. So what we did was, we went back, and the staff did, we went through it, and we looked at it, and of course, over 15 years, me understanding just about every issue we've ever had with it, we think we brought something back that will either be really good, or might need to have some minor adjustments in the future, but we actually did manage to move it over into land usage. We got it over in the 150 section of our ordinance book, where a person who doesn't like the decision or the denial of certain items would be able to apply for a variance. if it was truly a hardship. At the same time, it clears up a long-running issue of an ordinance that was passed and never enforced. And then staff wasn't enforcing it as it came up, but some of the violations have been out there for 25 years. So it was us punishing people that came forward while people who didn't come forward were allowed to keep it.
Right.
At the same time, that ordinance was also in direct conflict with both the camera rules and the building code in their determination of when you could keep something under a structural. And the best advice I can give you is it basically said if it was more than 4 feet wide and it was there, it had to be gone by 2003 if it was beyond the town's frontal dome. That was the way the part that was written that was bad.
Okay.
And it said it had to be gone by 2003. Well, nobody made them go away, because I made a bunch of them go away when I first got here. And then over the years, as people would come in, if they wanted to repair their walkway, and one of those things was out there, they had to take it down. Well, the problem with that is that statutory law says you can do X amount of repairs as long as they're not structural, and you don't have to get a permit. So you had people out there repairing them under state law that was allowed. We had no way to be on the site, because the law didn't allow us. So they were repairing them. Meantime, if somebody came in and wanted to do a repair that required a permit, right, they were having to take them down. So, and then you have the 50% guidelines. The building code then says if it's more than 50%, it has to be brought in full compliance, right? Well, some of these were less than 50%, and they had to be tore down. You see, there's like 3 conflicting, there's another rule out there too. CAMA has a 50%. CAMA has a 50% value, whereas the building code says 50%, no, I'm sorry, it's reverse. Building code says if it's 50% of the value, it's got to be all new. The structure for CAMA. So you got all these conflicts. So hopefully we've done some work here that will help everybody. The first thing we did was, we actually didn't we put a change in?
We added it in the land use section at 157, 024.
But we actually changed something in 94.03. We actually said so as to be located closest to the structure as possible to encourage maximum buffer from the hazard. And what that did was, that's recognizing that the town's frontal dome is actually the one that's closest to the structures and not the one that's farthest away.
Okay.
That was confusing people, so that, we had it in there that said they weren't the same, but we wanted to add clarification to what the town's frontal dome actually is.
Gotcha.
So it wouldn't be any confusion.
So the first mounds of sand located landward of Ocean Beach is the closest to the house.
And that's the town's doing.
That would be the town's frontal dome. The one, if you looked at it from the land, the one closest to the ocean that's substantial would be the camera.
The camera,
Okay.
that's what I
And
meant.
what happens is that we only have one good dune, starting maybe in the 800 block, maybe somewhere down there. And so the 2 are the same.
Okay.
But there's areas like at the west end, the 1,000 block, 1,100 block, where they're actually separate. And they can be great distances, 600 feet between.
So Tim, if looking at repairs and 50% of the structural value, does that mean any repair would require a permit? Or
No, if
only if
it's,
it's 50% of
if
the
you
value?
came in here and you wanted to, I teach this, so there's a stack of rules. And the primary rule is if you went out and you wanted to take the rails off, you want to take the decking boards off, and it didn't exceed the $40,000 threshold, right? Right. Then you would be able to do that without a permit.
Right.
Now, if at
So
any
where's
point
the
in
40?
time,
Where's the 40,000?
that comes from the state rules, the state
Okay.
legislature. for
Well, they just
permit
changed
requirement.
that too, right?
Now-
They raised it 10,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if one of those boards is structural and it don't cost but 50%, you have to get a permit.
Okay.
It has to be non-structural and less than 40,000. But if something's structural, like a girder or a joist, then you
Okay.
would have to get a permit. So let's say you've got a bunch of joists and girders, right? And you got a bunch of pickets and rails. Now they're all together because it's part of the structural. And it's $25,000, but the fair market value to replace the whole thing is only 35. Well, now you you've got everything you touch or replace has got to be brought in full compliance with code.
Is that a change based on what we're doing here, or?
No, that's been in the building code for the last 25 or 30 years. Yeah, same thing with camera. There's a structure, building code which is state law. So there's a permit kind of thing going on there. So it makes it confusing. When it goes to CAMA variances, they often ask the building official for their opinion. Almost every time. They'll ask the building official for 50%. So they're, so anyway, so once you get past that little change we made in 94.03, you'll see that we took all of one portion of it, which was 94.036, I believe. We took it out and we transferred it over into the land use section under 157.0 and made .024. And we put dune restrictions in there in the land use. And the blue is what we changed, the red is what we removed, is that correct?
Which is what we had in there, and then the red's getting taken away.
So when you read that, it says no other structure other than one 4-foot wide wooden walkway shall be located south of the landward toe of the camera frontal building as designated by the local camera officer. And it has to be that because the camera officer is going to issue a permit for permission under the statutory guidelines from the CRC to then say you can come get a building permit and then all that other stuff falls in. And it says, as designated by the camera officer. This applies to decks, gazebos, sitting areas, and other additions that a property owner may desire to make to the allowed walkway. Then you got-
Where you can?
I am on the
Next page.
next page.
Oh, you're right there.
Okay.
I read right at the top where it says
Okay.
demonstrate.
Reading A.
Yeah.
And then part B, you want to go back over that?
No, I got you.
Okay. Part B says that structures other than 4-foot walkways that exist when the section is adopted regularly remain in place temporarily. However, all such structures must be removed, and it used to say no later than December 31st of 2003.
Gotcha.
We're taking that out, and it says must be removed if repairs exceed more than 50% of the structural value. So if you've got one of those seating areas out there, and there's two reasons for this and why it needs to be done. If you got one of them out there and it's in dilapidated condition right now, under the old ordinance, you're gonna do whatever you can to keep it, which means that you're never really gonna fix it. You're just gonna keep, patching them.
Right.
And we had one or two of these walkways fall last summer. So this will encourage them to do repairs, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if it's not repairable, then it'll have to come down. Okay? Instead of trying to hide it. All right.
So
Then
Tim,
goes on to-
how would you know though if it's not repairable unless the owner came to, I guess that's just the way it is, right?
That's the way it is.
Okay.
But see, in the opposite, if they know, which they all do, that if you, like, Wade would go out and tell them, we can replace this walkway, we gotta tear this, you're not gonna put that 4-foot section back, would you? Right? So when the contractor goes out there, he can tell them now, if you're gonna repair more than 50% of this walkway, that's gotta come out.
Right.
Right, you got an option, right? But at the same time, we don't have them not repairing it because they don't want to lose their 4-foot section, which will make it unsafe eventually. So there's kind of a drawback with it. But what it used to be was that if we noticed it, or if we saw it, we could make it tear it down. Think about that, that's the way it was written.
Mhm.
We didn't do that because we like ourselves. Okay?
You don't carry a weapon.
I've had to tear a few of them down.
Huh?
We've had to tear a few of them down.
Yeah, well, we made you, when you come to get a permit.
We
we're
come get a
there.
permit, yeah.
But if people, and there was one when I got here that was a 12 by 12 on creosote poles that was out at the end. It was basically a full-size structure out on the public right-of-way attached to a walkway, no matter tear it down. I was surprised when somebody got run into it. But I've had some of them that were hazards that we saw, and they pulled them out. And then, of course, the rest of it is just, you know, as it was, we didn't change it.
So the part that you, in red, like the exception under, you know, it says property owners lots that have more than 300 feet from seaward toe and they're not. Is that a change in policy, or is that?
No,
Covered in
the
150.
exception that we took out, said exception property owners with lots that have more than 300 feet from the seaward toe of the front moon to the last line of natural stable vegetation as determined by the local CAMA officer may install a single walkway with maximum width of 4 feet, the walkway shall be minimum. We took that out because we now allow, says no structure other than a 4-foot wide wooden walkway shall be located south of the landward toe of the camel throne zone as designated by the local camel. So what we did was, we basically say that now there is no restrictions. If you want to go all the way out and you can do it, you can. That's what the new rule says.
Huh?
The old rule said you had to stop at the toe of the town's promenade.
So does that mean you could build it as far as you want to the water?
No, you can build it all the way out to the last line of natural stable vegetation.
Okay.
Which is the exception, was what the exception had for the west end, where there was a separation.
I got it.
CAM allowed you to go out there, we didn't allow you to go past the toe of the promenade. And so what happened was, the biggest problem is, and I'll give you an example, is in the 1100 block, we now have several houses that are cutting the dune into, because we make them stop the walkway at the town's frontal dune, and it's
Yeah.
still 300 feet to the CAM's
CAMA.
frontal dune. So now what we're saying is that you can have a walkway that extends all the way out. Now, what's the difference in this and what they were trying to do when they wrote it? It used to be mandatory, you had to have one all the way out. And so when the storm came, we had a bunch of debris out there, and we had people saying, well, you may just take it out there, now it's tore down. Well, now, it's your choice. You wanna take it all the way out there, and it gets too often a storm, you know what I mean?
But you
You
still
chose to do
can't,
it.
you still can't go by the Cama dune. Jana still comes out and marks where you
Yeah,
can't
go
go.
past the last line of
She
natural
still has to
stable
come out,
vegetation.
Cama has to still come out and mark it.
That's right. The only thing we're doing is saying,
Yeah.
the exception now goes where everybody can do it.
Right.
And what I'm saying is that starting in the 800 block, where the two are the same, you still can't go no further than you could last week.
Yeah.
Right.
It's still the same distance.
So it seems like you're making the, I'm gonna ask this, the town's not requiring something different than CAMA. Is that right?
The only thing that we're requiring different than gamma is, well, really not. What is the limit on the width of a walkway?
Camel law 60.
Yeah, CAM allows 6, we won't allow anything more than 4. That's the only restriction. But before, yeah, we had all these.
So that was a question I had when I was reviewing this. So the 4-foot width is still a requirement? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You can have 1 4-foot line.
What's that based on if CAM allows 6?
What do we base it?
I know what it is, going across the.
And we get some of this stuff, especially with gamma, and when we limit some of this stuff, but yes, we want to.
Permitting, does this require a separate permit than from the house,
What, the walkway?
the walkway?
We have a walkway permit, beach access way permit.
And there's a permit to fill out now to get it marked.
Yeah. We
There's a
now
permit
require
for
you to
that?
pay us.
Okay, I
It's
didn't
not
know
a
that.
permit, it's just a form that you fill out and you gotta pay $25 per delineation. Alrighty.
Yeah, well, there's a reason why we do that, and I'll tell you why it is.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
You know what it
People
is?
let me
Yeah.
go out a million times and
Because
mark the
the
same
real
thing.
estate agent will ask us to go mark the dune.
Yeah.
Then the homeowner will ask us to go mark the dune a month later. Then the contractor goes ask us to mark the dune a month later. Then the surveyor goes ask us to mark the dunes a month later. You know what I mean? You don't run your business that way. You know what I mean? You know, we can't run ours that way. And what happens is that, they don't like where you mark it, so they pull it up. It gets marked. We leave the stakes, they don't like its location, so they'll pull it up and move it, and then the next guy's like, Like Wade will go out there and go, I know Janet didn't mark that here. I need this marked. If they do what we say, when we say mark it, you'll get you a surveyor.
That's right.
Yeah, and you know, there's no need for you to keep having it marked. Yeah. And believe me, it happens a lot. I pulled up 3 stakes from the same location the last time we had camera out together.
I'm gonna have somebody impersonate one.
Yeah, and one of them was in one of ours.
Really?
Right.
Got to impersonate my handwriting.
Really?
So it is.
It's very distinctive handwriting.
But I think this does a really good job, but the big thing about this is when we put it in this section, if we gotta tell somebody, right, now the 50% building code rule and the camera code rule has to be, they can now get a variance, go get a variance, and then move through the process. But the biggest thing is that they're not gonna be required to take those things down or be denied a walkway or anything else without the ability of due process. For land use should always have the ability to go get a variance if you feel like you've got a hardship.
Well, it gives them an option now.
Well, it's land use, I mean, it's accessory structure, everything else, that we just, all we did, there's an accessory structure that actually will refer back to, when we review these. In other words, the accessory structure tells you how, well, like, you can have the walkway, but it's still got to be how far off the property line, still got to be 5 feet off the property line. You can't put the walkway on top of your neighbors, it's got to have, meet 5-foot setbacks on the side. Tells you that in 157.060. The accessory structures have to be the setback right on the side. Didn't say that when it was in the doomsday. Huh?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, we didn't tell people everything. But then put it right up next to the property line.
So if someone, let's say if someone in the public said, hey, so why are we doing this? What would be the,
We're doing this because, number one is it's not fair to people who have a 4-foot wide walkway out there, you know what I mean, that may be in perfectly good condition for whatever reason, one that's more than 4 foot wide. And we go out there and they want to add a deck to the back of their house, and we have to say, walkway's attached to your deck, you gotta take that down. Because the ordinance says it's supposed to be gone in 2003.
yeah.
How's that fair?
Yeah.
How's that fair? You go out there, you start, and I'll give you an example. This is an actual example that was one of the driving forces that made me say we need to carry this forward. We had somebody who's actually on the Board of Adjustment, went to repair their back deck. You know what I mean? It was going to be one of those, didn't require a permit, got in there, had a bunch of structural issues. Now it requires a permit. They come to do the right thing, and we go out there and say, no, can't issue it till you got to tear that down. Do you see the,
Yeah.
and
Yep,
can I apply
yep.
for a variance? No. Now, but he could apply for a variance for the deck if it had been in the wrong place,
Right.
but not for the 4-foot wide. Now you see, it's very conflicting. It was confusing, and it created a lot of angst in our department, because we're like, we gotta make them do it, but that makes sense.
Right.
So that was pretty clear, and the other one is you wanna move it from, from regs to land use to give due process.
That's
Right.
right.
Okay. Anything else that's
That is
changed, or-
the biggest problem was, and another real life one was 1117, property owner can't go past the toe of the frontal dune.
Yep.
Okay.
And now he's walking, cutting a dune in half out by the ocean that leads all the way to his house.
Yeah.
Because our ordinance didn't allow him to go over there. So the ordinance itself had 2 flaws, real flaws that I think, and there's a possibility that CAMA is soon going to approve matting. If
Okay.
they approve matting, you know what I mean, that stops, you can put it on the ground and that stops the erosion. So we've got some of them at the west end that was approved before they shut down the program. They do work. We use one at the pier, because the public can use them now, but they do work, and our ordinance would have hindered people's ability to use those. So it's kind of ahead of the game a little bit on that fact, that it would allow them to take them all the way out if CAMA approves them.
Okay.
In other words, we'd have an agency that says, yeah, you can put down the mat and go all the way out, and our ordinance is gonna say, no, you can't.
Right.
So it kind of eliminates that future issue.
Well, it makes sense.
There, I don't think anybody's against it. Yeah. Well, I mean, you still be doing the same job, you just won't be at odds with a homeowner who's trying to do the right thing.
The ones that we made them tear them down, can they go back and put theirs back down?
It's like a seatbelt thing. I love it when people tell me, well, wasn't my grandfather, because this is a story I used with him, was like, yeah, I was born before you had to wear seatbelts, I didn't get grandfather.
Try to remember that.
Very true. So Part D, and Part D is no longer an exception anymore, it's just a statement now, as far as the swimming pools? Yeah.
Yeah, Part D is allowed.
Right.
Basically, it's not an exception.
It's not an exception,
now
it's allowed.
Yeah, swimming pools may be located south of the town's designated frontal dune. Placement of pools and decks shall not extend more than 50 feet from the established seaward toe of the designated frontal dune. And the exception only applies when the CAMA dune is more seaward than the town's frontal dune. And if you need that explained, I'll give it to you this way. When the two are the same, you can't be on the seaward side toe of that dune. So you can't have a pool there.
Right.
But if the two are separated, then this was one of the better things that we wrote, then you would not be limited to the toe of the town's frontal dune. You would be able to go in there with 50 feet. If you got 50 feet, put a pool. You go 50 feet to the toe of the town's frontal dune and put a pool. And several people have used it, and it works out good. It's great. So, unless you've got enough room between you know what I mean?
Right.
And the other dune.
The other
Because
dune.
remember, the town's frontal dune is much more restricted. So if the chances, you might have your pool be a problem, but the CAMA dune goes away, the staff has said, okay, this is the big one.
Right,
This is the one we're protecting.
gotcha.
Because CAMA will call anything a frontal dune. They'll call a pile of rocks a frontal dune. If you look at 157.060 D10, you'll see that we referenced where it's located now on 157.024. When you go to accessory structures, like if somebody's working in town, they'll know to go there, so they'll know what the rule is.
Right.
Same thing, 157.61, one of them's residential, the other one's R2. like condominium and that.
Looks like we need to isolate head. Accessory building shall be located not less than. See that?
Mhm.
If that's what it means. Accessory building shall be located not less than 5 feet from property line.
That's right.
So that would be it. Does that need to be, is that, you just correct that as a typo or?
Located versus locate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say that again?
Oh, so you're saying it needs to be located instead of?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
just
just like
located.
I got
Yeah.
you.
You're right.
Same thing above it too.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Okay.
Can you buy a D?
Yeah,
And
we'll
you
fix
don't
that.
buy consonants, do you?
We'll fix that.
Or vowels?
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't, the 160D regulations allow us to do minor text amendments. If y'all approve it, we can, as long as we don't change the context.
Right. questions?
That would all appear to make sense.
Good to go.
We need a motion to,
Take a vote on the,
how do we do this,
You
recommend
need
to
to make a
the
motion,
board?
you mean, when you make a motion to adopt it,
right,
and then you can second and have a discussion, okay?
okay,
And then you can approve it, and then you'll make a motion to send it to the board.
Gotcha.
gotcha.
Why move we adopt the, board statement of consistency and zoning recommendation?
Second.
Are we sending it for discussion now?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been seconded, you can talk about it.
Recommendation needs another M. Sorry about that.
Oh, got a school teacher here.
That's all right.
That's
We-
good.
I
We
think-
need that.
I think recommendation was spelled wrong or something.
I'm-
Something spelled wrong with
All
that.
printed from the.
I'm
ordinance
cursed with
book.
with
We can't spell
seeing
it.
things like that.
Wrong in the ordinance book.
Yeah, it might be wrong in the ordinance.
Because that was all it was printed from.
We finished straight from there.
And following reasons, needs a colon there instead of a period.
I'll talk on it.
Yeah, Heather's the one that goes
It's the
through
one
it.
that fixes all that.
Well, I have no questions. If anybody has any questions or wants to discuss the issue further. Wade?
Look, good.
Brennan?
Well, good.
So I recommend we take a vote to adopt the consistency and zoning recommendation.
Big vote.
Take a vote. All in favor? Say aye.
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 No nays? Decision is unanimous.
Now we need a motion to take it to the board.
Now we make a motion
for
to present it to the
staff
board.
Carry it to the board of commissioners.
All in favor?
I'll make, somebody's gotta make a motion.
Oh, okay.
I move that, this adopted recommendation be, forwarded to the board of commissioners for consideration.
Mhm. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Do I need to sign this, John?
This one has your name.
Just the consistency statement, and they review it at the board level, just so you know what that is, but they
Yes.
give another one that they have to consider too. It's the same one.
Same one? Okay.
By law, whenever you do an ordinance change like this, you have to have a consistency statement in there. It basically says we're not violating our land use policy.
Thank you.
The land use plan that was updated, what, 2 years ago?
A little longer than that.
Something
About 3 years ago. Used to, you had to update them every 5 years, but the state changed that. You only have to update them now, you can amend them as necessary. And they were making us rewrite them every 5 years. I bet I've done 6, and then here I am at the end, you don't have to do it no more. Just amend it.
So Carrie thanks you for that.
I didn't, then what happened was if they had to, I can give you some background on that, but Kim, we got some people that need to go somewhere, but the background on that really is that CAMA used to approve them all. But then CAMA decided that they would let the staff approve them. They didn't have to no longer go to the board, of the commission, the actual CRC. The staff would review them, because there's this long list of statutory requirements that have to be in there. In the B requirements out of Canada. So you had to meet all those requirements, you had to go back through and make sure the whole thing was right. But you ended up having to get assistance, because you're rewriting that whole entire document, and it was comprehensive land usage. Well, only the 9 counties that was part of CAMA had to do it. No one else had to have a land use plan. Well, the state legislature then said, everybody's gotta have a land use plan, and then the first time it came around for 5 years, instead of having 9 counties complaining about it, now you had every county complaining about it, and now you only have to do it once, and you can amend it with, you see how it went down? Yeah. So, it never really did make sense, because truly, we should be keeping ours up to date, and the only thing that would be different now is the new lift station. so we can amend it. And that gets, now, we're still having to do the hazard mitigation plan every 5 years. That's bigger than land use plan. That requires every planner for 3 counties. That'll be okay.
Any other comments?
Coming up in 2025.
Are there any other comments that we need to make? No?
Done here.
You good? Make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
There you go.
Thank you so much,
All
Tim.
right. Thanks,
Gary?
Alden.